You're always creating your results twice, first in your mind and your thoughts, then in your physical world. And so if you don't love the results in your physical world right now, if you don't love your sales numbers for this month, you don't love something going on with your team, you don't love even something outside of work, like something going on with your spouse or your partner, guess what? It's old news. Welcome to Superhuman Selling. If I told you today that your income ceiling has nothing to do with your strategy, your skill set, or even your industry, and everything to do with your thoughts, would you believe me? Well, here's what I'm here to say today is that that is the case. And your thoughts and your thinking, your identity, your subconscious are driving your results that you're experiencing in your life. And so we are going to dive in today. And by the end of the episode, I'm going to have shared with you, and you will know the exact mindset principles that I've used to rewire my thoughts, shift my subconscious, and create millions, and how you can also apply those today, regardless of where you're starting from. And I'm excited for today's episode one because I love teaching this and I know what a difference this makes. It can be overlooked, especially if you're coming from maybe a traditional sales background or you're coming from an environment where much of the focus is on action. And I'm here to tell you, I have been in periods of my life where I was like trying to force or push an outcome. And especially if we feel distant or separate from our goals, the tendency can be I've got to push, I've got to force, I've got to double down, I've got to hustle. That is never the energy that creates the quantum leap. It's always, always, always alignment first, action second. And so as I record this, it is a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Maine. We are moving into, it's actually the last day of August. So we're moving into our September community theme, which is all about what we call the first quadrant of quantum sales growth. By the way, if you want a free training on that, go to fourquadrants.elysearcher.com and you can get a 7-part free course that'll teach you the method that I used. I didn't know I was using it at the time, but I reverse engineered it after it happened to turn my annual income into my monthly income really fast after I was stuck at the same level for a really long time. But the first quadrant of quantum sales growth, we call mind over matter. And so that's what our theme is about this month in our community, in our client community. And you'll also see it a lot on my social media, which is about how our beliefs, our mind, our identity, our self concept shifts and influences physical 3D matter. It's not the traditional mind over matter where you've heard like just push harder and make it happen. Not what we're talking about. We're talking about how your mind influences and impacts the physical 3D matter in your world. And so be sure to follow me on social. I'm at Elyse Archer everywhere so that you can dig deeper into this concept and into this topic for the month or whenever you're listening to it is perfect as well. But so let's talk about kind of the big idea here, which I think we've all heard thoughts become things. But gosh, don't we forget? Sometimes, isn't it so easy, especially if you're in a place where maybe your results aren't matching up with what you would love? Isn't it so easy to try to control the external and to go into, all right, let me just double down. Let me work 5 more hours a day. Not that there's not days or times where like I'm doing it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put in some extra time on this. Like, I don't ever want someone to listen to my content and think Elise is anti work and action. That is not the case at all. I love my work. I think it's important. I love taking action towards my goals, but it's the energy you're doing it in that will either quantum leap you or have you feel like you're on a hamster wheel. And it's also the energy you're in that will determine whether it's taking you a really long time to achieve those goals or what might blow your mind in terms of a short amount of time towards those goals. So that's why we always go into wealth energetics first, mindset alignment first, and then action second from there. And so this is just a beautiful reminder for you that we're always creating twice. You're always creating your results twice, first in your mind and your thoughts, then in your physical world. And so if you don't love the results in your physical world right now, if you don't love your sales numbers for this month, you don't love something going on with your team, you don't love even something outside of work, like something going on with your spouse or your partner. Guess what? It's old news. If you've listened to this for any amount of time, you've heard me say it's old news. And yet I find even in my own life, this reminder is helpful to me like all the time, all the time. So I come back to these same principles again and again with fresh awareness. And so if you want to shift a circumstance, if you want to shift your results, if you want to go from maybe a six-figure income to a seven-figure income, a seven-figure income to a multi-seven or an eight, if you want to change the dynamic in any part of your business or your life, always, always, always go to your thoughts first. All right. Because those are going to be rooted in your core beliefs. And your 3D world that you're observing, it's just what is called an outpicturing. It's basically a representation. It's showing you what your beliefs are. That's all it is. All right. So everything responds to what your beliefs are. And when you know this, it's so powerful because you can take every single circumstance in your life and you can tie it back to your beliefs. And you can say, oh my gosh, there it is. Oh my gosh, there it is. Not from a place of like making yourself wrong for things. That's not what I mean. But from a place of beautiful self awareness, right? If clients aren't showing up for you the way that you would love, like what part of you is expecting people to not show up? What part of you, when you were a little girl or a little boy, didn't have people show up for you the way you felt like you needed? Right? Like it's repeating again in your business. This is what's so powerful is I used to think that inner child work was I just thought it was ridiculous. Like, I was like, what does that even matter? I thought it was soft. When I experienced it for myself, and I can now go and look at everything that happens in my life and my business and look at the patterning around beliefs and ways of being that I picked up on as a little girl, some of which really serve me, some of which really don't. You can shift it and you can take responsibility in a beautiful way. So there's neuroscience behind this, okay? There's science behind this that 95 to 98% of our results in our life stem from our subconscious beliefs, all right? You want to know what your subconscious beliefs are. Number one, look at what's happening in your world. That's going to tell you what your beliefs are. And you can take inventory and stock of, well, what's happening that I love, that I feel is amazing. All right, great. Let me lean into that. I've clearly got a powerful belief. I also look at what areas of my life are running really smoothly and easily. Like, where do things just flow? Where do things feel really, really easy? Like, if you're listening to this, maybe you're someone where you're wanting to grow in your sales and your business, but maybe in your health journey, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so easy for me. Like, I just am a healthy, fit person. I just naturally am. You don't have to think about it. You eat in a really healthful way. You get enough sleep. You exercise every day. That's because you've got a really great belief working for you there that you are a healthy, vibrant, vital person. And so that belief is going to run the show for you. But maybe money isn't flowing the way you would love, or you're wanting to expand to another level, but you're feeling kind of stuck at your current level. Okay, there's a belief running the show there that we get to shift or rearrange or change for you as well. And we'll talk more throughout this episode about how I personally do it. And I don't think there's one way to do it. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. I also think you can shift it really fast if you choose as well, once you're aware. But the other thing I would say is if you want to unearth what beliefs are running the show for you, pay attention to like when it's a quiet moment. Maybe you're in the shower, maybe you're out going for a walk, or you're just by yourself. Like, where does your mind drift to? What are the first things I also would pay attention to when you wake up first thing in the morning? Where does your mind go? When you're falling asleep at night, where does your mind go? And then again, when you're like driving, when you're in your off hours, like what are the patterns? What are the thoughts that are just on autopilot, on repeat all the time? Those are the programs. Those are the subconscious beliefs. And so when we can become aware of those, and again, some of them may work really well for you, but a lot of them probably aren't. And so when you can become aware of those and actually write them down and notice them, one of my past podcast guests called those our frequent flyers. Those are our frequent flyers that show up again and again and again. And we think that they're true. We believe them. We listen to them, but they're not actually your truth. If they are not in alignment with what you would need to think to get to your goals, they are not your highest and best truth. There's a deep dive in another episode I did called The Neuroscience of Sales Success, which we'll link to in the show notes so that you can dive into that. But that's this is where I think when I think about trainings that I get brought in on, like I used to go into companies and do a ton of strategic tactical sales training. Not that I can't still do that, but I feel like it's missing the boat because this is why you can come in and like a company, I could come in and train a sales team. Or maybe you've had this experience where the whole team gets trained and everyone goes back to the same results they were at before, right? Or if someone shifts, it's one or two people. Everyone has the same information. What's the difference? It's not the strategy, it's not the information, it's the beliefs, it's the self-concept of those performers. Some people have or producers, right? Sales producers, team members. Some people have a belief and a self-concept of, I am an elite performer. I'm always at the top of the leaderboard. And by the way, you can develop a belief that you can do that in fewer hours every week. A lot of my clients who are in corporate selling, I've got a good number of clients who are in B2B tech sales or SaaS sales, or they sell AI or something like that. And they have adopted, like going from, it's so common in that industry that you're working 45, 50, 60-hour weeks. They are top of the leaderboard working 30 hours a week or less. And so it all stems from the belief. All right. It all stems from the belief. So let's talk a little bit about how do we start to shift and rewire some of these limiting beliefs. And um, here's what I would say with this. I'm not going to go too deep into the science behind this, but there is a concept in neuroscience called Hebb's law, which is neurons that fire together wire together. What does that mean? You think a thought of self-doubt long enough, you're going to have a really clear-cut neural pathway in your brain that is going to trigger and fire thoughts of self-doubt all the time for you because you've been thinking it on repeat. Now, here's what's powerful about knowing and understanding this concept is that when you become aware, maybe you're aware, oh my gosh, I have a thought pattern that repeats that's around self-doubt, and you start to notice through the lens of your thoughts how often you're thinking thoughts of self-doubt and how often things are being in scenarios are being run through that lens. Because if you're someone who has that belief system or who doubts yourself, you're going to have it show up everywhere. It's going to come time to make a decision on something and you're going to hesitate. You're going to pull back. You're going to say, oh, I don't know. You're not going to go for it the way that you would if you were a person who totally trusted yourself, who was confident, who said, "You know what? No matter what, I always figure it out. I trust my guidance and my intuition. I trust that it's always leading me in the right direction. I trust that things are always working out for me." So, you're going to start to run things through that pattern and that lens of whatever the belief system is. Now, what's powerful about this is, let's say that there was a superhighway. Let's say you're driving down a superhighway, and by the way, let's just call this in this example, this is like the neural pathway of self-doubt. It's a superhighway in your brain. Let's say that suddenly that highway gets blocked off and cars are no longer allowed to drive on it. And there's a forest nearby where the construction crew starts clearing out a new pathway. And at first, like cars can't really drive down it, right? It's messy, there's vines, there's trees, there's weeds. But over time, those crews start clearing out that new pathway, and that becomes the new road. That becomes the new highway. The old one, the superhighway, because it's no longer being used, just out of disuse, it's actually going to become grown over. The concrete is going to crack and dissolve at some point. The asphalt's going to crack and dissolve. Trees, plants, vegetation are going to grow over it. So, what I mean by that, and the whole point of that is when we're doing belief rewiring work, it can it can be a process where sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to go so deep into the source of every limiting belief. I've got to really, really get into it. And then you end up spending so much time on that you end up actually perpetuating that negative belief because all your energy is focused on that negative belief. Whereas if you simply said, it's there. I recognize that it's there. I know that it probably came from childhood. Maybe it came from, research shows that these beliefs now get passed on generationally. So it's epigenetics. We pick up on things even in our mother's womb. If your mother has trauma or patterning around scarcity or lack or not being safe, like you pick up on those things in the womb. And so some of the negative beliefs that you hold or unhelpful beliefs that you hold aren't even necessarily from your lived experience. They can be from things generationally back. And some people will also say it comes from past lives, et cetera. So there's a lot of different places that they can come from. But the point of all of this is you can go deep and you can trace the root. And sometimes that could be really healing and cathartic. Simultaneously, is it serving you to keep going down that superhighway that leads you to an outcome that you don't love, that that you wouldn't prefer, versus starting to carve out the new path? And what I mean by that is picking the new belief, saying, what belief would most support me towards my goals, towards the outcome that I want right here, right now in this scenario? And then you start to affirm that, you start to visualize that, you start to play with that new belief, you start to consciously shift that new belief. And it's just like if you have a plant that you stop watering, after a while, not too long, it's going to die. It can't survive anymore. So, how do we water our beliefs? It's with our energy, it's with our attention, it's with our focus. So, if you want to create a different reality for yourself in your sales, in your business, in your life, start putting energy, attention, and focus on the thoughts and the beliefs, even if they haven't proven true yet in your world, in your lived experience. It's because they haven't actually been your beliefs yet. Once they become your embodied core beliefs, your operating system, your program, you will see the evidence of that start to come in, and usually quite quickly as well, in your world and in your results. And so you've heard this before. This is the observer effect in quantum physics. You get what you focus on, you get what you pay attention to, and whatever plant you water, whatever seed you water is the one that's going to grow. And so we teach a technique in our community, and this is in that 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth free training. It's also in our new membership and in our 10K club, but it's called Old Personality, New Personality. And so in that free training, you can go in and you can get that, and my team will link that in the show notes here as well. So you can go in and see how we do it. And then we do a much deeper dive and we actually work with our clients hands on and our paid programs as well around this. But it's a process that will allow you to identify the old beliefs that no longer serve you and to consciously shift your beliefs to what's going to help, to what's going to support you as well towards your goals. So I hope that that serves, and I hope that that helps. Like I said before, there's so many different ways that you can rewire your beliefs and your thought patterns. You may have heard affirmations. Yes, those help a lot. Repetition helps a lot. Now, what I will say is that your emotional state matters a lot when you are affirming. So if you're in a negative emotional state, it's not the time to try to do your affirmations. That's the time to just step away and go focus on feeling better. Because, again, from a neuroscience standpoint, we can't think beyond our emotional state. So, if you're feeling scarcity, but you're trying to affirm abundance in that moment, it's not going to make it past your brainstem. It's not going to do any good. And in fact, you're probably going to perpetuate the feelings and the beliefs of scarcity because that's how you're feeling in that moment. That's what your nervous system is calibrated to. So, in that moment, set it down, take a nap, go to bed, go do something else, come back to it from a place of feeling calm, feeling peace, feeling ease, feeling open-minded as well. All right. Visualization, another beautiful way to do it. This morning, I sat there and I visualized, and look, I want to say, like, this is not perfect. Like, I love a good quiet morning where I can go in and do my Joe Dispenza meditation and visualization uninterrupted. And this morning, because our 2.5-year-old woke up really early and wanted to play cars all around me while I was meditating and visualizing, I did my best with it, okay? I was visualizing, just some really beautiful new things that I'm ready to call in and ready to experience in my business and my money and my life. And my little one was, playing cars all around my feet. And I was like, it's okay. Like, we do our best with this. But I think the important thing is not to let circumstances or kids or whatever it is that you can tend to blame or say, well, I can't do it because of that. Don't let that be an excuse. All right. There's always a way, and you are worth it to always find a way as well. Something else that I think is really important, and I spoke about this in our 10K club not too long ago, is to not be surprised when you set a next level goal and a limiting belief shows up, or you feel like, oh my gosh, um, why is it suddenly that things I thought I had processed or dealt with are coming back? I thought I had worked through that old wounding. I thought I had worked through the story that I'm not enough, or my money story, or my worthiness story. And then it comes up. It's simply because I had a mentor say this to me once, and I thought it was really beautiful. We heal in layers. All right, we heal in layers. And every goal that you set, it's an opportunity to become more of who you really are. And so with that, there's going to be some things that come up with every goal you set that you get to release, that you get to shed old beliefs, old ways of being that no longer serve. So it can feel quite uncomfortable in the moment. That's not a sign that you're on the wrong track. That's not a sign that it's not meant to happen. It's a sign that you're growing. It's a sign that you are shifting. And so you can think about, I would even call it like belief alchemy, right? Pick whatever belief is showing up for you in that moment, whatever story. I'm not enough. It's never going to work out. People don't want to buy from me. People don't want to be in my community. Whatever the belief is that's showing up around that, alchemize it, right? Through the lens of love, what would I say and do? Through the lens of my goal already be accomplished, what would my belief be there? So it's your opportunity to alchemize it. I would invite you to tune in to what is one belief right now that's keeping you stuck? All right. What is one belief that's keeping you stuck? And if you were to flip it, what would that look like? What would the new belief be? And you can tell that that's actually your truth because you feel better when you think it. Even if it's not your embodied experience yet, even if you haven't had that show up yet in your physical world, if you feel better when you're thinking it, that is your sign that that is more in alignment with your truth. And thinking that thought and practicing that thought and carving out that new neural pathway by focused attention, repetition, emotionalizing it, that's going to get you to where you want to go. All right. And the final thing I'll speak to here before we talk about how to connect and what's next is this concept of the future you embodiment. So, how do we live from the belief now? I don't even love the phrase future you, by the way, because I personally think everything's happening at once. So, time is a linear 3D concept that we play with on this planet, yes, so it can be helpful to look at it that way, but I personally believe that everything is happening all at once, and so the version of you who has the results that you desire, they already exist, and it's more of a matter of knowing that already exists, that potential already exists in the quantum field. So if you align with it now, it's not about future you, it's about current you, but most aligned you. Does that make sense? So we get to become the person who our goals require. All right, you get to become the person who your goals require. And whoever you believe yourself to be is going to set the limit or the barometer for what you're willing to allow in. This is why part of why we work so much in our community on identity and self-concept and receiving, opening up to receive, because we all have a threshold for how much we're willing to receive. And that's going to be based on who you believe yourself to be. If you believe yourself to be someone who is very high caliber, who's doing really important things in the world, in your life, you're going to be open to receiving a lot of support because you know that that's necessary and required for where you're going and for what you're doing. You're going to be open to receiving money because you understand that's energy that fuels your life, your kids' lives, your family's life, that helps you not only take care of yourself, but take care of others as well. And it's going to feel natural and normal and automatic for people to be buying from you on a regular, consistent basis. And so when I say becoming the person who your goals require, it's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about becoming more of who you are, right? If you have a vision and a dream, I heard this recently on one of our virtual events, like so many people talking about wanting to be New York Times bestselling authors or wanting to be top keynote speakers. You've got a vision for that. It's because it is a potential for you. It's because you actually have what it takes to do that. But you have to activate that potential. It's like a latent potential within you. that you have to nurture, you have to water, you have to grow, and you have to actually start to see yourself as the person who does that. And if you think maybe that's resonating right now and you're like, yeah, that's me. I see myself on big stages. I see myself writing a best-selling book. Well, who is the version of yourself who does that? How do they think about their social media? When they go to post on social media, they're not like, oh, no one's watching or no one's paying attention. No one's going to see this anyway. I don't have enough followers. They're like, "Oh my gosh, people are waiting to hear what I have to say." When you go to record content, whether it's your podcast, whether it's a virtual training, a webinar, you're not thinking no one's gonna show up for it. You're thinking, "People love it when I go live. People love it when I produce and record podcasts or content because it really shifts their lives. It helps them accomplish their goals." And so when we start to play with that and we start to show up as the version of us with our goals accomplished, um, we shift our identity, we shift our self-concept, and what happens is when I say you leave the old self behind, it's not in a way of, like, not integrating all your parts or your inner child or your younger self, it's more about allowing those younger versions of you to feel safe and comfortable just to be themselves, to not have to try to control the show, to not have to try to run the show for you. We integrate them. That's the beauty of parts work and inner child work. We integrate them so that you can lead from your highest self, so that you can lead from the part of you who feels comfortable making multi-millions, who knows that she does that, who knows that she leads her family powerfully as well, who is open and safe to receiving great opportunities. I had a day this week where I received 2 really incredible international speaking opportunities, and I've done the self-concept work where it didn't feel strange in the moment. They were like, "Wow, that's exciting, that's so fun." But at the end of the day, I stopped and I reflected on it, and I was like, those are both really kind of big." And it was like, wherever they go, it was such a beautiful moment to say, I've shifted my self-concept to where that feels normal and natural and not a big deal in that it didn't feel that strange to receive them. I kind of received them. I was like, "Thank you so much. This is amazing." Moved the energy forward on them and then went on with the day of, you know, running the business and then hanging out with the kids as well. But so it starts to feel normal and natural for you to have the things happen in your business, for you to make the money you want to make, for you to work with the clients you want to work with. That feels normal and natural when we are doing the work. When we are shifting our inner self concept, our identity, our alignment before the results have shown up. And when you start to live from that identity now, not just thoughts and feelings, but also actions, the results will inevitably catch up to you as well. All right. So I hope that this serves you. I know that there was probably a lot in this that spoke to you. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway. Please comment. I'm at Elyse Archer on all social. I would be honored if you shared this as well with your network, with your friends, with your colleagues. Be sure you're subscribed. I'm just going to give it to you all right now so that you know how to connect. Be sure you're subscribed on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. And I will say, as you're listening to this, we have launched a brand new membership as well. It's called the Superhuman Selling membership. If you want the link to get registered, send me a DM. Again, I'm at Elyse Archer on all social. It is a low ticket item. So traditionally working with myself, working in our programs, it's at least a 5-figure investment for our group coaching. And that still remains the case. But this new membership that we have launched, we wanted to create something that was accessible for everyone, that would allow you to get in, go deeper into the material, be in our community because it's phenomenal. And it's a very reasonable investment as well. I will say that. So if you want to come in and be part of the community and go deeper in this material, have access to my team, I'm in there live once a quarter as well. So you have deeper access to me. You can go again, DM me at Elyse Archer. We'll send you the link to sign up for the membership and come be a part of it because this is the tip of the iceberg. So if you're an entrepreneur, a sales professional, maybe you're a mom, maybe you're a woman in business, maybe you're not. This is really open to all. But you want to expand your abundance. You want to be more deep in my energy and my team's energy and what we're doing. Come join us. It's extremely, extremely powerful. It's a no-brainer investment, and I think it's gonna shift a lot for you too. So whether you're in sales, whether you're an entrepreneur, you wanna come join us and hang out in here, all right? We're gonna go deeper as well in September. And whenever you're listening is perfect, but we're going deeper in our membership this month on how to rewire your belief system in your mind for whatever you want, which is really the work. That is what shifts things. That is what allows us to collapse timelines and quantum leaps. So, as always, I so appreciate you being a listener, being a part of our community. And I want to remind you to trust yourself on your path to success. Your desires are green lights, leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future. I'll see you in our next episode.